Well, it's my third attempt to do a little tutorial video about Heartbeat, which is the Bug Picnic, one of the Bug Picnic songs this year. First one was a bit of a mess. The second one I just discovered did it as a time lapse, which wasn't very useful. So I'll have another go. Yeah, as I said, Heartbeat's the Bug Picnic song, and it's got some nice little picked an intro, some riffs, fill, and a solo for those that are brave enough to have a go. They're not too bad. They're all just played on a couple of strings. A lot of the patterns are the same, just repeat in different places on the neck. So we'll go through those and see if see how we get on. I'm going to try and play the thing through first so that you can see roughly what it's supposed to sound like. You can guarantee I'll muck up somewhere along the line, but we'll give it a go. Okay, a few mistakes in there, but never mind. So, the song starts. Oh, just a word first about that pick there, the sort of strumming style. I think this works quite well with it, and it's roughly what they do on the record, I think, is a sort of a. So, all I'm doing there is I'm sort of hitting the top couple of strings, and then going in for a slow, and then an up, down, up, down, up, down, before changing to the next chord. Which is pretty much all the way through the song, as you heard me try and do it just then. Okay, so the start of the song just has the intro, which is played on the E and A strings. Start with your index finger on the 7th fret on the A string and go with your ring finger on the 9th fret on the E string. So it's this sort of shape. So then you've got to slide up a fret and drop the middle finger down on the 10th, 7, 8, 9th fret, so you're on 9 and 10. Then back to where you started, 7 and 9. Then slide down 2 frets, and then back up, and then down again. So there's just those 3 shapes. There, there, and there. So. And that pattern just repeats twice for the intro, so one last time. And then it's into the verse. And then it's that's the first of the riffs. Now the riff, the riff is played on G and C strings, the top two. It's exactly the same pattern as the intro. So you use your index finger starting on C string on 4, ring finger starting on G on 6, and you just play exactly the same pattern. So hoping you can see that. So it's 4 and 6, then sliding up 1 to 6 and 7 with middle and ring fingers, then down, back down to where we started, 4 and 6, down 2 on 2nd and 4th fret. So from the beginning of that riff, and then it's the second line of the song. Okay, after that, same pattern but not quite the same ending. So the first time through the pattern it's the same, but the second time, because this line leads into the piddly-pat section, it's slightly different. So and instead of going back down here, we go up. So exactly the same sets of notes, but I'll play it again at speed. Second time. You end up on this lower sort of pattern, and then that's into the piddly-pat section. And then they play a nice little fill, which is all played on the middle two strings this time, C and E string. And what I do is I start back down here with my index sort of pressing on the middle two, and sorry, I should have said this earlier, I'm playing all these two note bits with just my fingers just plucking the strings like that. So when I'm playing the intro, I'm just pulling those strings with those two fingers. So back to the fill. So I start off with this with my index finger around about the 2nd fret and slide it up to the 9th fret. So and then you come down a couple of frets and index on 7, middle on 8. Down 2 frets to 5 and 6, and then index across the middle 2 strings again. The rhythm on that bit at the end is quite tricky to get, and I think it's something like this. So once more, slide up to 9, 7 and 8, 5 and 6. That's on the 4th fret, 3rd fret, end up on the 2nd fret. Now that last bit, whoops, should coincide with when everybody else is playing the D chord of that piddly-pat section. So E7. And that's the end of that bit. Now we're into the last line of the verse, which is back the same as the first two. D, E7, and then there's the verse riff again, which is the same as after the first line. Now, after that, it goes into the sort of middle 8 break. And I'll play that through quickly just to remind my fingers how to do it. So it roughly goes. So you start off with the same slide that you do in the fill. You start riff somewhere down here, up to the 9th fret. Now on the guitar they've got a tremolo arm, so they get this sort of little tremolo effect. So to simulate that, I just slide back a fret and back up again. So I sort of go. In fact, I think I pluck it about 3 times. So the first pluck, pluck again to emphasise each part of the note. Then you leave the middle finger, index finger where it is, drop the middle finger down on the next fret up on the, what's that now, 10 for the next note. Then I'm going up from the middle two strings, I'm going up to the top two strings now, the C, E and A strings for the next note, and it's the same pattern that we had in the intro. And then up to that, what's that, 9 and 10, and down to, so up to 9, oops, sorry, start again. And the second half of the middle 8 is just the same as the intro, so it's a repeat of. That's the end of it, so I'll just play it one more time from the beginning. Now you might notice that I'm playing this with different fingers to how I play the intro. What I find is if I can keep my finger on a string for as long as possible, it makes it a lot easier. So once I drop my middle finger down on that 10th fret for that second note, I can just leave it on there and slide it down and put my index finger on the A string to play those other notes. If I had to swap to the ring finger, something would go wrong 9 times out of 10. So if I can keep the finger where it is, it definitely helps. So even though it's a bit of a twist and a stretch to play that shape, I find it slightly easier. So after the middle 8, then we're into the second verse, which goes through roughly the same as the first. So you've got your same riff after the first line. Whoops, that's the second riff, isn't it? Second line. Second riff. That's the different bit. Piddly-pat. Get ready for the fill. Last line of the verse. And after that it goes into, it repeats the intro, so the outro is the same, so and then the last chord of the song is, I'm not sure what it's called now, but basically it's 6 and 6 and 7 and 7. So the 6th fret on the G and C strings, and then 7 and 7 on E and A. So altogether sounds like this. So the idea is use something like this after the outro. And that's it, I think. Yeah, so it's not too bad. It's worth having a go at especially the verse riff, because that will sound really good if we've got a few people doing that rather than everybody doing the same strum. It would sound good if we get some people doing the riff. So have fun with it. I have, but it's by no means easy. There's a lot of movement of the fingers around a fingerboard, and it's good practice for that, if nothing else. Yeah, so enjoy.